Hey everybody, it's me, Dan.
I'm Manji.
And I'm still Ryan.
And we still don't have a name for this show. Join us as we figure out a tier list for all the guys that aren't a Legion.
Obviously, there's one army we got to start with here. They're the Adeptus Caustodes. Where are you putting them at, Ryan?
The greatest of all armies in the entire Imperium, if not universe.
They were the greatest list in all of 30K.
So we're saying top of OP?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, easily top OP. So there it is. Top OP.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to deny that, you're basically approaching every single battle with a whole lot of Terminators. Weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 5. In almost all cases, 2-up saves, 6-up, invulns, move 8. The stat line speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm.
They are pretty nonsense, even at their most base unit, which creates a hard, there's not a lot of answers across the rest of the legions to deal with that many bodies at that high of toughness, weapon skill, initiative.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing with Caustodes is that they deform the game around them.
Correct.
Like, you have to have a lot of AP2 shooting to stop this army for most legions. There are some exceptions that can fight them.
Right.
Those exceptions are named the White Scars.
That's really just outmaneuvering them. It's not fighting them so much as it might be like, I guess the other answer might be like a whole bunch of golden Keshigs just like charging them repeatedly.
Yeah.
I mean, Knight Cenobian will take out 1, maybe 2 before the other guys just put the 5 under and that's the end of it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Most Legion Elite Terminators are things you don't want to throw into Caustodes because...
No, even their base units will mess up, Elite Terminators pretty readily.
It's, I've really been racking my brain having fought your Caustodes a couple times, having... there's a lot of Caustodes players locally seeing sort of their games, seeing what goes on. Like, the thing that is genuinely frustrating is you have to have AP2 shooting if you're a Legion if your army or your collection just doesn't have the AP2 shooting. Like, it's going to be a real bad game.
Or a whole lot of breaching.
Yeah.
Breaching, rending, those all help, but it's not consistent like it would be if it was tied onto the gun itself. Units that come to mind on how to counter a Caustodes heavy infantry list might be Sun Killers, might be what's the one from Word Bearers? The Plasma.
There's the Plasma Support Squads, heavy support squads with plasma cannons. Raven Guard can do it with Mordathan because they have you can get 40 rending 4 shots hitting on 2s. That will eat a Custode squad. There are answers in the legions, but they're very
you really
specific.
Have to build towards it.
Yeah, and you've got to have a lot of them, right?
Right.
And
it's not just onesie twosies. You're like a squad here, a squad there. You need to build your army around beating Custodes, and when you do that, they're definitely defeatable. But if you're just playing an all-comers list, it's going to be a climb.
Yeah. A bloodbath.
A bloodbath, if you will.
I think they buzzsaw through Fury of the Ancients because it trips the Nemesis. They get more attacks. The Dreadnoughts are not instant killing them like they are against regular Marines.
Right. The other thing is that a lot of times all their weapons have instant death on them or, AP2, AP1.
Yep.
So, I mean, when you engage them and the amount of attacks coming in at like I5, Initiative 5, super hard to deal with.
Yeah.
So, I am quite happy to put them at the top tier. The best list that is kind of coming out right now is heavy infantry.
Yeah, I think it's 60 custodian guards
and a captain.
It's not lost an event it's been run at yet. So
really, it's an undefeated event list.
It is a rough list for a lot of people. Obviously, the armored spear tip has some problems with that list too because all of your guys have melta bombs.
Yep.
So if you engage it in close combat and it doesn't somehow get away from you. You're going to drop melta bombs on it and probably detonate it that same turn.
Yeah, there's no great answers to them, and in all honesty, Caustodes are one of the things we're going to see get banned from tournaments.
Yeah,
we're
starting to see that
or narrative events. Yeah, because it's they're so deforming.
Right. I mean, people really have to, if they want to think about placing in that top tier, if they're playing competitively. Or if they want to just play a narrative, you kind of have to what do you do with this army?
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, it's avoid it.
Yep.
So as a Custodes player, you're like, come play with me. don't take your basketball away. And you're chasing people across the field trying to get to engage with you.
I'm the good guy.
Right, I'm the good guy.
Emperor sent me.
Right.
So on the flip side of your great feelings about Custodes, let's talk Mechanicum.
Ooh.
Just as a quick side note, the Custode Shield Captain is excellent for 200 points. So is the Hateran Guard. Play that. And of course,
Terminators are good.
Terminators are good. The Tribune's good. I would say their vehicles are not great. They're usually overcosted.
I feel like if you're bringing the vehicles or the dreadnoughts, you're kind of doing your opponent a favor.
Right. Unless they bring a bunch of Aquilus Dreads. They have the Brutal 3 Fists now, as per the FAQ. And, a las cannon. They're 250 points, and you can't take them in squadrons, and you can a standard Contemptor, but who needs to? You don't. Don't be that guy. As that guy, don't be that guy. I don't know. Whatever. Let's talk about that. Mechanicum, though. Sweet Mechanicum. I love you so much. But you are...
Where are they going?
God.
They're not a dumpster fire.
I would disagree.
I think they have things about them that make them not a dumpster fire. Does that mean they win a lot of games? Okay, fair enough. But I don't know that they're straight dumpster fire.
I think they have some good answers. But I think that because of the way that you build the army and there's very little synergy within it, it causes problems, playing at a more competitive level. Even playing casually, it's hard because you don't get reactions across so many of the units you want to have reactions unless you take Scoria, like in your Cybernetica lists.
I really feel like the army got the answer to what they did in first edition, which was extremely egregious.
Right.
Was way overdone. I feel like the very hard limit of traders to react for the robots was unnecessary.
So what Manji is referring to is you have to take Scoria to get your Cybernetica units the ability to react.
Right.
Or you have to take you have to tie in a bunch of the Magos to each of the units so you can get a reaction.
Yeah. It's and that's the reason I think that's actually really rough is that most Mechanicum players went in on the robots in first edition. Like that was the list.
Right.
And now it's like, well, the Mechanicum tanks are very strong and the Myrmidons are very strong. Like they do have options. They're not. This is not like
don't suck.
This is like a Mechanicum can't win games. This is it kind of sucks. The thing you want to do is the most punished.
Right.
And it also kind of sucks they have such hard limits on like what they can do. I also think cutting out the Skitarii was a huge mistake.
Yeah. I would have really liked to have seen them pull in the Skitarii from 40k, at least some of the range.
Or make a 30k Skitarii unit, right? Give them different war gear or whatever. But it's deeply infuriating that the only way you could run Skitarii is in the Titanica army, and they're not line troops.
Right, they're not line.
I straight up don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. Like, why would you are you supposed to take a Warhound and I guess just ally it to something? I think that's the feeling that we get. But why even include Skitarii?
Yeah,
or Secretary technically, but either way, I don't think they ended up with good units to put with the Titanica Legion or units.
That said, they ally into legions very well.
True.
Iron Hands using the character to bring robots along.
Yeah.
Like Legion Thalax are a thing that are very scary. So Mechanicum are one of those armies where I think it's very hard to run it cohesively as one thing, but they're an excellent army to ally in or splash some units from.
That being said, the advanced reaction is quite good because it happens, at a time before, I guess, you do the shooting. In the reaction phase, when you can actually use the advanced reaction, you basically shoot before they shoot, which is kind of weird. Mm-hmm. But you can eliminate threats that way, especially sun killers and other stuff that's really going to knock you down. So you can definitely do that. There are standout units. The Thanatar is amazing. The ability to double shoot it for D3 wounds on your...
The Karachnos.
The Karachnos is a rolling war crime.
Both the Myrmidon units, I think, are very good.
Yes.
The Tech Priest HQ may be the best HQ any army gets. The downside is you're literally building your entire army around it, but it is a good thing to build around.
Some of the aggravation points for me is that you have a lot of traitor named units, but only one loyalist in Caleb Decima. So a lot of these don't even end up in the book. They're appendices units or PDF units. But as far as the PDF units are concerned, the build your own land raider is pretty cool.
That's so cool.
And that was kind of a gimme from the Explorator that they no longer make. So you can take those units and kind of build them to any way or shape or form that you want and solve problems that way.
Yeah.
I think the Ordinator army list could be very good. It's very vehicle heavy, and for that reason, you can benefit a lot for the same reasons that Armored Spear Tip is good.
Yeah. I mean, they're obviously in our bottom tier here, but I don't think anyone should take this away and think that they're unplayable.
No.
They do have options. They just aren't as cohesive or coherent as any of the legions.
Right. They lack a lot of synergy, and you really do have to kind of build your army around your character, your HQ unit. That being said, there are a couple of winners for the warlord traits. I think it's the Lacrimata. Basically lets you ignore rending and stuff, which is pretty cool. So I do think they're fairly put here in the dumpster fire position, which saddens me because I have a massive Mechanicum army and I love them. They're so,
Well, let's talk about some
Geiger
things
and
that
stuff.
can actually buff the Mechanicum a bit with the Divisio Titanica.
Okay.
They're casual.
Are they at the top of OP or are they at the end of OP?
Oh man. So the issue that you kind of run into with Titanica, Titan Legions, is that
It's got to be your primary detachment.
right. It has to be your
Because
primary detachment.
you can't ally in a Lord of War.
Exactly.
I don't think. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So I think they have to be that way. Also, because the points cost is so high, you're only going to be playing them in these absurdly large games.
Well,
if
you
you're playing them
you
correctly,
can run a Warhound Titan
Sure.
at 3,000 points,
which is
and
800 points, I think, per.
750,
Okay,
I believe.
Yes.
depending on what weapon you take.
It's the top of what you can take,
Right.
by the points. And I'll tell you, having fought it at 3K, it's generally pretty scary. And there is a bit that I think a lot of other reviews have missed. The God Engine rules make so if you take a Warhound, all your Mechanicum units are fearless as long as the Warhound is alive.
Oh,
And
Okay.
a bunch of
Didn't know
guys who've
about
never
that
taken
spicy
wild
idea.
checks
Yeah.
is pretty good.
shit! Even I didn't know about that.
yeah.
I own Titans.
So I think the Warhound makes for some really interesting 3,000 point games. It actually does a thing to let infantry heavy Mechanicum
Yeah.
get a bit more play than it does running out of their own rules. The downside is, the other upside here is you can actually run the 40k Scutari. The Scutari Marshal is the HQ choice here.
Yeah, I think they're considered secutary when they run with a Titan, but that's nomenclature. He is right.
The
cool thing is with those guys, you actually get a bunch of different weapon options that you normally wouldn't have.
they look really cool. Obviously, you're gonna have the Titan, but you also get to run the Mechanicum stuff with them.
Right.
They're really really fun, but I don't think they lack a lot of the really over powerful stuff we've seen in the Legions. Right. And the thing is, the Warhound Titan is very scary and very killable.
It is.
And when it goes down, the army tends to not do super good.
Yeah, you start to crumble after that pretty quick.
It's kind of like the old Warhammer Fantasy Undead almost. The minute the Titan goes down, all the tiny guys start to run away.
The lights come on, the roaches scatter.
Yeah.
With that being said, the reason I always think they're just upper S tier is because at the end of the day, the only thing that can kill a Warlord Titan is another damn Warlord Titan.
True.
At the point level you're playing a Warlord Titan,
there's a lot.
Okay,
of stuff.
fair enough. All right, all right. We gotta put a fat asterisk there. Titans are just their own thing. But in my mind, it's they're super S tier if you're playing 6,000 points.
You know what's
if you're playing
baffling?
3,000 points, they're not showing up.
The Warlord has weapon skill 8.
Oh yeah,
I don't understand.
yeah.
Those feet are very nimble.
It's a collective weapon skill of all the dudes in that thing.
It's rad.
Riddle me this, Batman. If you have weapon skill 8 and you hit him with a fist, what's the chance you actually missing?
Very good, actually. Most Marines are hitting it on 6s.
what I'm saying is like, would the Titan miss? I don't think so. It's like getting hit by a bus.
It is also worth saying, anybody who brings a Titan to a regular game, it's probably going to be a fun time.
Or they're a huge scumbag, which
big old scumbag.
Big old scumbag. All right, so we got Knights, we got Sisters, we got Assassins, and we have Solar Auxilia. What is your pick?
Let's go. You know what? Let's go Assassins.
Okay.
So this is not a faction you can run by themselves.
By solo, they are definitely add-ins. I like them as contenders. I think they bring some interesting stuff. Bottom of contenders, I think they plug holes for a lot of legions as well as a lot of these other Imperium loyalist factions.
Yeah, I really like the fact that the Assassins are a really solid way to like plug a gap in your list.
Yeah.
For especially the non-Marine factions, you're going to have HQ slots to spare.
Right.
Marines, you're not typically you're gonna max your HQ slots, but even if you don't, bringing a Vindicare, bringing
Galexis,
bring even the newer guys like the
Venom Sight or
bring
whatever.
Storm Shadow,
Snake
Eyes.
But all the Assassins are a really solid, interesting way of filling gaps in the rest of the army and doing things you don't expect to do. Like the Vindicare, sure, he's a big character killer, but his gun is strong enough. You can blow up rhinos.
You can blow up a rhino, no
yeah.
problem. Yeah,
and
you can definitely pen a rhino for sure.
And that's a very interesting option for somebody like Mechanical to just take an HQ slot and not a lot of points and like have a thing to blow up like tanks.
I think the biggest buff to the Vindicare isn't necessarily how ridiculously long or strong that gun may be. It's the fact that he gets to put it exactly where he wants it.
True.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he can just shoot a character because he has a sniper social rule.
Yeah.
And he ignores night fighting.
So he's always got the range. He's pretty bananas.
I genuinely think like the Assassins, let's say you're running like a shooting heavy Solar Auxiliary army, you put an Eversor in there,
right.
You've got a legitimate melee threat right there.
Yeah, I mean, you have someone, exactly, you plug the hole with a skirmisher that goes in there and just like messes up casual units.
Right.
Tactical Marines or even Terminators.
Yeah, an Eversor will do a number on like regular Cataphracti and Tartaros for sure.
Right. They're going to struggle against the Weapon Skull 5, but...
Most things will.
Most things will, except for Caustodes.
But yeah, I think I would put them as average, but they're so versatile and they do so much for the other lists.
And I mean, they're pretty nicely costed at 125 for most assassins. So you can get
always
one in there.
There's always going to be that list. It's like, man, what am I going to do with 125 points?
I will say I'm excited for when we get like the execution force, like run all the assassins together rules. I'm sure it's coming. I'm excited to see what that army looks like.
Yeah, I mean, some of the new stuff too, like the info site's interesting. You of course have the Venium Assassin. Mm-hmm. So the new stuff is actually pretty cool. Interesting weapons, cool little abilities like the Poison Globes. Lets you any unit attempting to make a charge against a unit with one or more models that has Poison Globes must re-roll the first successful roll. So that's ways to avoid.
And if you want to hear like a deep dive into each assassin, we have a review of the Library Imperium you can check out.
Probably be here somewhere on my
around
face.
there. And check out if you want to see like a more deep dive into each assassin. But I think as an overall thing, I love them. I think they're a great addition to the game.
Definitely agree with that. Let's talk Sisters of Silence.
I don't know enough. I haven't seen them on the table yet.
I am honestly leaning OP.
Really? You're leaning OP?
So here's why I'm leaning OP.
Okay.
They have a unit that is going to be splashed into every Loyalist army the second it exists, which is their Apothecary unit. They get Apothecaries with a 2-up save who can attach to Caustodes. And Caustodes with a Feel No Pain, I don't know what you do about that. I don't. And
probably something close to what they do with Stone Gauntlet. Just break upon that rock and die.
I think as an allied detachment, like they're really strong.
I'm going to put them at top of contenders. I think I like them there because one, we really don't know where, if we're going to see a ton of play from them. They're a hard army to collect at the moment because they just don't have plastic.
I think the box is actually not even listed now. So.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, I don't think
they're reboxing it, I'm pretty sure.
Right. So, unless you originally had, like, 100 sisters, you know, you probably can't play it.
12 copies of Burning of Prospero.
I don't think there's enough in there to play that.
There's only 5 in there.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, super exceptional. You're going to see them allied out a whole bunch for sure.
Also, Janisha Kroll being one of the best named characters in the game. Anything with an Ex Oblivio.
All the melee sister characters are terrifying.
So Ex Oblivio basically knocks a character down, or anything engages or challenges down to Weapon Skull 1.
Right. Anything that is not a primary.
So stuff like Sigismund or Sevatar or Corswain, they're all Weapon Skull 1 and basically useless after that.
Yeah. I mean, they're really effective melee assassins. Yeah. The psychic hate, like their existence hurts Word Bearers and Thousand Sons a fair bit.
Yeah, which are right now in our contenders bracket. So, you know, we kind of discussed this before. You know, them just being around, much like Caustodes just being around, kind of hampers the other tiers dramatically.
Yeah.
Also, we did do a deep dive on this, but all of their warlord traits are good.
Bonkers.
All of their chambers are good.
Yeah.
They don't really have a terrible unit, and everything's pretty fairly costed. I mean, it's all low-cost stuff that you can wrap into an allied detachment easily, and I think that's really what the intention was behind them.
Yeah.
You can run a big army of them, but the fact that you can hand Caustodes an Apothecary or any unit, any allied Imperium unit, an Apothecary is
Do they
pretty
ignore
ridiculous.
Bitter Duty?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, still no Apothecary for my Interrupters.
You get nothing.
Nothing.
So next up on our list, it looks like, is Solar Auxilia.
Essay.
I haven't seen this book enough.
I want to say middle of average.
Middle average.
Middle average.
Like under Blood Angels, I would say.
Say under Blood Angels?
Yeah.
I think they're just so flexible that you can really build them to your heart's content. And I mean, if you really want to run 200 rotor cannons, you could.
I mean, the thing about the army is, and I'll say this, like, very few people can play it.
Right.
Like, it's either a bunch of resin dudes or it's a bunch of, like, resin tanks.
People can't financially play.
You can like run the Lehman Russ list if you're a casual. But
they're so expensive.
The Malcadors are really strong. They have so much list versatility. Like, they're an army where I looked at it and I said, I don't know what's broken here, but I know something's broken.
Right.
I fully expect, as we start to see more events, LVO, Adepticon, we're going to see more of these lists come out of the woodwork, and we're going to start to see some real crazy stuff.
Yeah. I mean, they have the advantage of having a ton of units that no one knows what they do right now.
Right.
And I mean, I think you're right. You know, when these events happen, there will be somebody who brings something where we're just all like, what?
Yeah.
You know, how many shots?
Yeah.
And they're all dead because this AP now for some reason?
Yeah.
It's gonna be a surprise. So I'm actually interested in seeing the results come out of LVO, as we had talked about with Nick earlier.
Yeah, which you could check out here.
Somewhere. Here.
Click my face.
Click my face.
Yeah. Solar Rocks, really fun.
Super fun, really versatile, and I think the best part, of course, being that they're so thematically driven, you can paint them and play them as whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. For all the fluff bunnies.
Now the controversy.
The controversy.
Imperial Knights. Casual, you think?
Why is it controversial?
Casual. I think that Knights.
I would say bottom of average is where I would go with them.
You think bottom average?
I do.
Okay. So we're gonna leave them over here at the bottom of average.
Let's talk it out.
Okay. Why do you want them at average?
So
I was gonna probably put them in like top of casual.
The 15 Armiger list is a thing.
Okay.
It's like running against the Dreadnoughts, only there's 15 of them, and they are, I think, slightly scarier in shooting because of the Helverin guns.
Agree. I mean, the fact they're AP3 strength 8?
7.
7? Okay.
With rending and ignores cover, or they get one other thing if they switch their other fire mode. It's not shabby.
Okay.
Warglaives are mounting 36-inch meltas that they can fire on the move, which means they get Armorbane Melta at 18.
Right.
Like, you know, are they gonna win a bunch of melee fights against Caustodes or Fist Huskarls? No, they are not. No. That is not a thing they're gonna do.
My only like point to them is that they do have some brutal shooting. But I mean, you're shooting like AP3 is going to knock down tactical marines and most kind of general marines. It's not going to affect things like Terminators. You know, the Melta is good, but the shots are limited. Mm-hmm. Yes, it will double out Terminators though, so that's pretty cool. And of course, they're not armored. They're technically like monstrous creatures.
And they're a unit type that isn't covered under grenade rules. So like you can't Melta-bomb them, you can't crack grenade them.
Really?
Like,
yeah, they're considered like walkers or something.
No, they are unit type armigers. They are not vehicles. They are not dreadnoughts. They are armigers. So unless your stuff works against armigers, kindly go to hell. So
facts.
Yeah, fun thing there. I will say for a prospective knight players thinking about like, I want to take my 40k knights over here.
You have to bring so many armigers.
Well, one, you've got to bring 2 armigers for every knight. 2, the Questoris knights are not great.
Yeah, the better knights are going to be your 4-year-old knights.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Knight Castigator, the Knight Porphyron are both really, really good. But like most of the 4-year-old knights are very powerful and runnable. To the extent that I would say, like, if you're going to run this army, you're going to run, you know, non-armigers, you want to have at least one of the 4-year-old knights, if not 2 or 3.
Yeah, I would say the Castigator's pretty good, Acheron's pretty good, Porphyrion's pretty good.
Porphyrion's amazing.
Well, yeah, it has volcano lance.
And you can make it BS5.
Oh, because it's the
Knight upgrades.
Knight upgrade.
Yeah. That's the other thing that I don't see a lot of people talking about is you can upgrade knights to B weapon skill 5, to B ballistic skill 5.
You do have those upgrades you can add to basically any large knight.
The Warlord trait gives them reactions, which is incredibly sick.
How many points are you out for that pleasure?
It's 80 points, but they get weapon skill 5, BS 5, and they and all knights within 8 gain normal reactions.
So I don't understand why people are complaining about knights if you can do that for 80 points.
That they can do that to one knight.
Right.
Okay.
And the knights themselves are...
So you have your one knight and your flock of like armigers.
Good luck getting through 15 armigers in 4 turns. Or
Contemptors do it.
Contemptors do it no problem, and that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, in the game I've played with Imperial Knights, I've seen one double fist Contemptor kill 2 full-on knights and survive. Like, and the full-on knights were like.
So what you're telling me is the problem with knights is that Contemptors are too OP.
Yeah, it's like Custodes, and the rest of everything's just Space Marine, you know.
It's not just that Contemptors exist. It's that
they're OP.
It's that knights you're paying a whole lot for a thing that gets like 3 or 4 base attacks.
Right. It's not super effective.
Yeah. Stomps occur at initiative 1, so you're not going to get those all the time because odds are you die because you don't get your invulnerable save in melee.
Right.
You're only armor 13, which does sound like a lot, but a lot of stuff in melee
sure isn't.
Is strength 10 or Sunder or Armor Bane and is just cutting through you.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those armies where I feel like you're going to have a good time. It's really fun to play, but you are going to struggle a lot against a lot of armies because you simply don't have the tools to deal with things.
Especially in quantity either. Like, you know, I would have expected knights to have more range attack potential.
Yeah.
And they don't.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a sad fact that, you know, a Fury of the Ancients list can come along and just like decimate knights.
Yeah, I don't know what Knights does to something like Fury.
Right.
I think Armored Spearhead eats them for lunch. I
think it's easier to tackle Armored Spearhead than it is Fury of the Ancients for them.
It can be, but a lot depends on like, you know, what's your loadout, right? What big knights are you taking? Because you can take like double Gatling, Storm Spear, Questoris, and you're not doing anything to an Armored Spearhead list. They're like, look at my armor 14. Okay, thanks. Like,
Right. The fact that their little land raiders and stuff are stronger than your knight is kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, and I would also say there's upgrades you definitely take, like 35 points to make a knight weapon skill 5 and let them sweeping advance.
Yeah.
There's an upgrade to say the knight always takes only 1 damage, which is very good because they ignore everything else on the chart besides explodes. Explodes just makes them lose D3. So
the other thing I don't love about knights is that their side armor is pretty easily exposed. I mean, you can move 6 inches and probably hit their side armor in most cases.
Yeah.
And get around that by just drawing.
They don't really have side fire guns either, like
right,
exactly.
Or
front arc.
Yeah, all they're pretty much 45 degrees front arcs, but dealing with a side that is basically 45 degrees of it's just a large field of fire to get hit by.
Yeah, you're gonna have a fun time with knights. They're a beautiful looking army too.
Right.
Knight players who get really into it and go all out on like the household scheme and do the banners and stuff will look sick. But I think you don't want to bring knights to a Space Marine fight.
No, you don't want to bring them too much.
Yeah.
It would be they're again very fun to play. You can have a great time with them. I own a ton of knights too. However,
the trick for most Knights players is owning armigers now.
Right, yeah. You have to own so many armigers to field a large point.
In fact, there's a bit of a run on them. Good luck finding them at this moment.
You really do have to hunt to find. Even used models for armigers are hard to come by. So you have to find 2 per large knight to field them. And I think that's kind of unfortunate. And let's kind of just quickly discuss some other armies we have down here that haven't seen rules. So I got Chaos, Demons, I got Renegades and Cultists, and we have Dark Mechanicum. And I think these are 3 armies that are eventually going to see rules. I believe that...
well, they have said that we can expect PDF rules for Demons and Cults.
Yeah.
I do think that plan changed, because I think if we were going to get the PDFs, we would have got them last year.
Right.
I'm expecting, we saw the Horus Heresy 2023 video that GW put out at the end of last year.
Yeah.
And on those, what looks an awful lot like a Chaos Assassin.
Right.
So I'm expecting something like Liber Imperium for the traders.
Right.
And that's where we'll see those demons.
Liber Traitoris or whatever. Quote me on that. But I think you're right. I think we're going to see a book come out that, encapsulates a lot of these, maybe even Chaos Knights, Chaos Knight households. Yeah. And I'm hoping that, Dark Mechanicum and Knights and, Trader, Titan Legions all end up in this book. So I hope it's a tome that's like 3 inches thick. Could prop on my couch.
Give me that 3-inch thick tome.
And we'll end up with the demons for word bearers, and of course the cult renegades, which will just be fodder for all the other legions.
Renegades, paper people.
Yeah, paper people.
They look good on paper.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, like, we've obviously seen some big gaps in the sort of chaos trader lineup.
Right.
And the fact that we haven't seen anything tells me that there's got to be a book coming. I don't know if it'll be a Liber like we've seen in the past, if it'll be like the new Black Book or something. But
it's something, and I hope it gets here soon so we can see what other new cool rules and armies we get. So.
Yeah. Cool. And when those books come out, we're going to revise this tier list.
Yeah. Yep. Next time there's a Black Book, we'll probably be looking at these and making some adjustments. But
what the hell
it'll
were
be a
we
living
thinking?
document if we have our way about it.
Yeah.
But as far as us, I think we're out and we're done. So once again, I'm Ryan.
I'm Manji.
I'm Dan.
And keep rolling those bones. We'll catch you next time from the Bull's Basement.